Welcome to the 2023 Zone C Concord Board of Education debate. I'm Tony Scianella, the editor of Concord, New Hampshire Patch. Thank you for being with us. This forum, if you will, is being sponsored by Patch as well as Concord TV. We're in their studios right now, and the New England Take podcast. For the next half hour or so, we're going to speak to two of the three candidates who are running in the Zone C school board race. It is a 3-year seat. Each term is 3 years. They get elected every 3 years, and they covers Ward 8, 9, and 10. We'll give them both opening and closing statements, and then I'll ask a few questions between. Let's meet our candidates. First off, we're going to go in alphabetical order. They are Cassie Cameron and Brenda Hastings. Peter Simonis, who is also on the ballot, could not make it due to an emergency, and unfortunately we're running out of time trying to get all of our debates done, so we were not able to reschedule. Brenda, can we do Challenger first? And then,
absolutely.
Is that okay?
Absolutely.
All right. Cassie, you have 1 minute opening statement.
Oh, Challenger first. Oh, goodness. I want to go second. My name is Cassie Cameron. I have 2 children that are currently in Concord School District in elementary school. I've been living in Concord for about 8 years now, and I've been on the PTA at Millbrook. I'm very involved in our schools and love to support the teachers and the admin and the schools any way I can, just because they spend so much time with my kids, as well as the huge impact they have on our community. I wanted to try to involve myself more in the school district to try to make the biggest difference that I could in helping not only my kids become better educated and take advantage of the education that they have, but also all of the other students as well. It's my firm belief that the children are our biggest investment that we have available to us, because eventually they are going to be taking care of us when we're older. They'll be our doctors, our lawyers, our policemen, our plumbers, everything. And the more we invest in them now, the better it's going to be later on for us.
Great, thank you so much. Brenda.
Hi, I'm Brenda Hastings, and I am a lifelong Concord person. I graduated from Concord High School in 1983, became a teacher in Concord, and have worked as a 3rd grade teacher at Broken Ground Elementary School for 25 years. And then I'm just finishing up my first term on the school board. So I've had 3 years, and I've learned so much in those 3 years. It's been fascinating, eye-opening, difficult, and time-consuming, but ultimately so worth it. I agree with Casey absolutely that our kids are worth every bit of the effort and hard work that we put into being on the board, and I'm excited to be running again.
Great.
There's that.
Excellent.
This is hard.
Let's go with our first question. The school district is considering or proposing to build a new middle school for the city. The initial price tag is around $176 million, which is about close to 3 times what it was, or potentially 2.5 times what it was just a couple of years ago. State aid's expected to be around $72 million. But even with the interest rate at around 4%, which some question whether or not Jack can, wave a magic wand, your business administrator, and actually get 4%, the final cost of the building will be close to $250 million, which is just really unheard of. The district has been collecting feedback from residents concerning where to build the new middle school. There's been a lot of really interesting conversations about that. Let's go with Brenda first on this. So what are your thoughts about the project, what you're doing so far moving forward, and whether or not we should wait longer, or what should be done exactly with the project?
Absolutely. Well, in a perfect world, we'd be able to wait till supply chain demand wasn't as high as it is, the costs weren't as expensive as they are, but it's not a perfect world, and we're in the world that we live in. And the current Runlet Middle School needs to be replaced. It's old, it's defunct, it doesn't work, it doesn't meet code, it needs to be replaced. You mentioned the $176 million price tag on that, and yes, that is high, but I think it's really important that viewers understand that that is the all-in price tag. We asked for everything we could possibly want in that school, knowing that we would have to backpedal and take things out as we went along. So that $176 million is the absolute most it would be at this point. And again, we're still dealing with the supply chain issues, and are we going to be able to get the materials? And it's not as easy as we would think, but our students need to have an adequate learning space. And currently, the school is just not adequate. It doesn't provide an adequate response for people.
Thank you.
My view on the middle school is that we, like Brenda, we do need to replace it. It isn't serving the community's needs. In addition, recently we've had a lot of developments that have been approved in the city, so we're adding in more residential units. We have about 1,570 units already underway that are being added, with the potential of 3,500 currently going to planning. That's going to bring in a lot more students. Our schools need more room to house these students, otherwise we're going to have huge class sizes and it's going to impact their learning. So I see this as something that's necessary for the schools and for the district as a whole. With these new residential areas coming in, we have to be able to house or be able to educate the children. But that also brings in some more revenue as well. We're having some businesses come in that are going to be putting taxes in, so it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be as large of a drain on our taxpayers. I mean, Costco's going in, that's a big player, and that could help out with that burden too.
Great. The school budget this year was around $100 million. The state of New Hampshire increased aid to the district by more than $5 million in state aid from the previous year. Half of that was pre-budgeted before you made the decision to approve the budget. But the other jolt of money, if you will, that was given to cities and towns was under the auspices that there would be property tax relief, and there doesn't appear to be any property tax relief in the retroactive budget after the district got more than $5 million. While it may be a small amount of money, property taxes are at the highest they've been, and they're at the highest that they've been due to factors that don't necessarily reflect the school district. The assessments are wackadoodle, and we all know that. But at the same time, if you had a comparison of enrollments to the school budget, it would be like this. Enrollments are down, and the school budget continues to go up. Meaning, when enrollments go up, the school budget's probably going to go up too. What can be done differently than what is being done now? And we'll go with you. Is it Cassie or Casey?
Cassie.
Cassie, okay, thank you. We'll go with you first. What can be done now, if you get elected, to rein in costs and or dampen spending in the district currently?
So I've been researching a few different programs that would look at addressing this issue. One of them actually started in the 70s. It's called the Pilot Program, PILOT, and it looked at going with, if you look at the nonprofit organizations that we have in Concord, they take up a lot of the space, the square footage, and we're not getting any property taxes from them because they're exempt. With the pilot program, it gives them the ability to still pay property taxes, but in a charitable way, so they can write it off, but there's no amount that they have to pay. In states and cities that are utilizing that program, they're finding these larger corporations are making donations, and that could be put towards the school board budget. Concord Hospital is a large one in this area. They're giving $79 million as of last year towards nonprofits and charities. That could be something, if we brought that up, that they might want to donate to. It's a tax write-off, it helps their community, and it's being used in all areas of the country, and it might be something to take a look at. I've also been looking at the district. We're not in real estate. We're not in the business of conservation as far as land goes. So if we own land as a school district that isn't being utilized, we kind of owe it to the taxpayers to get rid of it or lease it in a way that could bring in more revenue for us to offset some of that burden on the taxpayer.
Great. Brenda?
Well, it is a concern, and Concord, the city of Concord and the taxpayers of Concord, I feel, do a really good job of supporting the schools. And it's the responsibility of the board and the school district to make sure we're using that money wisely and effectively. And I think they are. Obviously, technology is a very large burden on the taxpayers. We do have to replace the computers and the technology that the students use frequently. We are leasing some of the property. The Eastman School is currently leased. We are looking at selling some property to help with the taxes. And just last week, we met as a board and looked at how could we reduce the rate even further than what we had proposed in June. So in October, not October, we're meeting at the end of this month to finalize the budget for the school year. And I think that you will see that it will be even lower than we anticipated it being, because the whole board is very concerned and appreciates everything that the taxpayers do for the schools. But we also understand the important job that we have to not take advantage of that and to be responsible, fiscally responsible.
Brenda just broke good news, I think, for some. Let's see what the numbers are. But Brenda, let's stay with you for a second. I don't really like the term educational excellence. And you and I went to Concord High School at the same time. I think I got a decent education. I would say, and I always tell this to my boys too, that back then, Concord High School was almost like a college. We didn't get a college degree, but we got an equivalent of what probably was the 4 years. Now it's a different system 40 plus years, later. So I don't really like to use the term educational excellence, but a lot of people use that term. But so this next question, what 3 things can you do in your next term to improve overall what other people might consider educational excellence in the school system to make them as good as they can be?
Well, I think we need to increase the rigor that we ask of our students. And that might be starting to offer other languages earlier, excelled programs for students who are ready for that. And I think it really means meeting all of our students where they are and helping them become the best that they can be, and giving them the supports they need and the encouragement they need and the skills that they need right from the very beginning, so that we can really make sure that our students, when they graduate from Concord High, are ready for whatever they want to do in the future.
Great.
I think that we need to focus, especially now, a little bit more on social and emotional health of the students. I know it's not the educator's burden to do that, but it does play a large role in education. When children are depressed and anxious and having psychological issues that aren't being addressed, that's going to impact their ability to memorize things, to retain information, and even to learn. And when we start to create a welcoming community for these students, that helps to relieve some of that anxiety, to know that they're looked after and that they care, it allows them to be pushing themselves more educationally. And so finding a way to include that in, especially post-pandemic, where there were some issues with socialization, I think can really help to be the starting point to then increase the burden that's placed on them, as far as pushing them to, do new things or go outside their comfort zone. I mean, for some of these students, just interacting with other students is outside their comfort zone.
Yep. Thank you. Cassie, let's stay with you for a second. The school superintendent, Kathleen Murphy's contract ends, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brenda, but I believe it ends at the end of the 2025 school year. While she hasn't indicated that she will retire, in your term she may, and you'll be involved in the process of finding a new superintendent. What kind of skill sets and qualities would you be looking for in a new superintendent if you must find one? Cassie.
I would be looking at someone that has been in the education role with students firsthand more recently, someone that hasn't been an administrator for a very long time and isn't familiar with the struggles of the teachers and the students. Sometimes I think as you move further away from it, it's harder to see what's going on in the classroom. So that would be nice. I'd look for someone that wants to be hands-on with the students and the staff and work with them, as well as someone that comes from a diverse background. That could be someone that is in a newer field, studied in a newer field, or is into the STEM. Just looking for someone to bring something new to the table for the students, maybe from a different area of the country. That would be nice. Just bring in something fresh But the most important thing for me would be that they have been around students in the schools more recently.
Brenda?
I agree with a lot that Casey has said. I think it will be very important for the next superintendent to have had a background in a diverse population. Concord has changed exponentially in the last 10 to 15 years, and we need somebody who's had some city experience because we are developing city issues in Concord. And that would be one thing that I would like to see. Obviously, somebody who's had been obviously in the education field and has had some in-class experience recently is important. Someone who's fairly young. I think it takes a long time to build a culture in a school district, and I want somebody that's going to be here for several years, not an interim, not somebody who's almost at the end of their career and just looking to abide out some time. Not that Superintendent Murphy is doing that. She has been very much helpful to Concord, and I don't know what we would have done without her. But somebody who's in it for the long term and has some innovative ideas, hands-on, wants to be with the students, wants to work with families, work with the community. We've just started really working with the city, and I like the city and school community collaboration that we've seen happening in the last year or so, and I'd like to see that continue.
I said to Kathleen privately, and I probably will have to say it publicly at some time, I'll do it right now. In 30 years of being a journalist, she's one of the easiest, most responsive. You know, everybody has a little bumpers here and there with public officials, but she's just done a really great job considering where we were before.
Absolutely.
I want to talk about changing city for a second and talk about a school resource officer. The Merrimack Valley School District, which covers the village of Pennacook and about 12 or 13% of the students of the city, has a school resource officer for both the high school and the middle school. Concord's police chief has wanted one for Runlet for a number of years now, but for whatever reason, every year it seems to be the first thing that gets taken off of the revenue. It's sharing, the cost of the officer is shared. The crime and issues in Runlet are not just the building. There's a lot of other issues in the middle school. And has been for a number of years. Would you support funding a school resource officer at the middle school?
I would. I was on the discipline task force that the school district had 2 years ago, where we looked at, do we continue with an SRO or do we not continue with an SRO? And we've looked at several different models, and though they had some really great points, I think there's more that we could do to help our students who feel marginalized or maybe fearful of the police. But you're right, we are dealing with some bigger issues, criminal issues at the middle school and at the high school. And I think that student and staff safety has to be our priority. And I would support that. And Concord does share the salary as well.
Yep.
I'm also supportive of SROs in the schools. One of the things that I had been looking at when I had started looking at this topic was that the brown and black students feel as though they are targeted, they feel less safe with SROs in the area, and I see that more of an opportunity to repair that relationship, to show them that they have a friend or at least protection in the SRO so that they can see them interacting with students in a very neutral way and kind of repair that relationship. In addition, teaching those in the police field to see the students as they are and having a more positive relationship with them versus going to a crime scene or responding to a call. Now, one thing that I noticed when I was looking at SROs as a nation is that there really isn't a cut and dry job description for them. They're basically given a splatter of different things that they're supposed to do. And at the end of the day, I don't believe that they're supposed to be disciplinarians. They're not supposed to be the bad cop. And I think some of the pressure that's put on some of these students that feel as though they could be attacked is that they're there to discipline and take them away. And if they're utilized more for protecting the students and staff there, keeping outside threats outside, and not utilized as the bad cop or I'm going to tell dad, I think it would make a more positive situation for these students.
Thank you. I'm going to just say too, I think the new Title IX officer has been able to do that really well at the high school too, that we've seen over the last couple of years. I want to stay with not necessarily the SRO, but school suspensions are down from the previous year in the 2022-2023 school year compared to 2021-2022. It's about looks like about 12%, which is a good sign, but last year, there were a lot of really serious kids getting involved in serious things: harassment, threats, drugs, fighting, and even a few weapon possession suspensions. Cassie, let's stay with you, and we'll do 30 seconds on this one. What more off the top of your head can you do as a school board member to not only ensure student safety, but also that they behave themselves?
I think it's important to develop that community that I was talking about earlier. When the students feel as though they are a part of the community, it creates respect and pride for that community. When they feel marginalized or not listened to, they can act out. They don't feel as though they need to protect and have pride in their community. So I think focusing on building that would be helpful, making sure the teachers have the support that they need and that admin follows through with the disciplinary actions and doesn't put that on the teachers, but in a way that helps to let the students know that what they're doing is wrong. This is why it's wrong. Let's work on not having this happen again.
Trauma. Our students have faced a fair amount of trauma, and many of our students have faced a fair amount of trauma in their lifetime, and we need to meet them where they are and show them that school is a place where they can learn and overcome some of the issues that they've been dealt and had to deal with in their short lives, and a place to make positive changes. And I think that if we can meet them where they are, offer them support, whether it be counseling, we've brought in new counselors, we've brought in a lot of different positions, and there are resources available to our students, and we just need to make sure they understand what those resources are. And suspension doesn't work. You know, they don't want to be at school, and when we suspend them, they're not at school. So if we can find a way to help them deal with what they need to deal with in a proper way and in a healthy way so that those mistakes aren't repeated, I think that we could do a lot for our students.
Cool. Last question, and then we'll go to closing statements. There have been a couple of controversial issues. Brenda, we'll go with you first on this one, with teacher dress code issues, as well as we spoke about earlier, the issue of the custodian who likes to dress up as a horror clown, and with misuse of school resources on the job and things like that. I was a little surprised when we had the issue of the art teacher at the elementary school. There are a number of complaints. It wasn't just one person, it was other parents as well who were complaining about the dress of the teacher, that there isn't a teacher dress code. And yet there are dress codes for students. Students can't wear flip-flops. They can't wear risque clothing. The CRTC criminal class was banned from having the memorial flag for the police department because 2 students didn't want to look at it. So there's a lot of things put on students as far as controlling their speech or controlling what they wear, but there isn't for employees, it would seem, or employees are given slap on the, you move on when there's a complaint and you just say that that's not really appropriate. But should there be a little bit, there's a code of conduct and a code of ethics for educators. Should there be dress code for teachers and educators and paraprofessionals in the district? And if not, why?
I would hesitate to put a dress code on staff in a school. They're professionals. These are people that are highly educated. They've gone through multiple years of training, and for the most part, dress and act in a very professional way. And I think that if you have an outlier or two, then you deal with the outlier or two. But to come across and say everybody, needs to wear a jacket and tie, it might not be appropriate for certain classes that you're teaching. So I think always a reminder to behave and dress in a professional manner and to conduct yourself as a professional is important. We want our teachers to be held to a high standard and a high regard, and we have to act that way.
Just to be clear, I'm not suggesting they wear suit and ties, and I'm not even suggesting what they wear.
Right.
I'm just suggesting a general. Girls cannot wear spaghetti straps at Concord High School. That I never knew that until this last year.
I think that's been relaxed quite a bit in the last few years.
Yeah, I think for the dances it has been for sure. Go ahead, Cassie.
I think it's a very difficult thing to put in place when you start to put dress codes on employees and limiting how they express themselves. I think, as Brenda said, that they are professionals that are educated and trained. But I do think we also give codes of conduct to the teachers of what they're allowed to do in their off time as well. And I think that potentially putting what we deem as appropriate or professional could be helpful in making sure that we don't go through litigation if someone feels as though their rights are being stepped on. It doesn't necessarily mean that we'll say you can only wear this or you can only wear this, but kind of set the stage for what the school district thinks is appropriate as far as dress so that they have a guideline.
Excellent. We're going to go to closing statements now from our two candidates. Let's see, Cassie went first. All right, so Brenda, you go first this time. 60 seconds.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for tuning in and listening to this. It's an honor to be representing Zone C, Wards 8, 9, and 10 in Concord on the school board. I enjoy my time there very, very much. You have wonderful people who are volunteering pretty much most of their time, a lot of their time, to do this for you and because they care. And I applaud my opponents for running. I mean, they care. We're lucky to have all of these people in Concord that want the best for our students, families, and our community. And I ask for your support and your vote on November 7th.
Thank you all for tuning in and listening. I agree with Brenda as well. One thing that I'm looking to bring to the board if I'm elected is that I want to look for more creative ways to help continue to fund our school district and helping it to be the best that it can be. I feel like we're kind of in a good position where we have amazing educators and staff and support around the school so that the basics are taken care of. Now we just need to make sure that they have what they need to do their job right. And I think that one of the most important things is to balance budget along with providing them with what they need. And sometimes that means that it's going to cost more, but that doesn't necessarily always mean it needs to fall back on the taxpayer. I think we need to start looking at more unique, creative ways to bring in more revenue to help not take away from the students in the learning experience, but also not overly burden the taxpayers as well.
Great, thank you so much. Those are your candidates in Zone C, Board of Education seats. That's Wards 8, 9, and 10. Election day is Tuesday, November 7th. The polls are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. For those of you who do not know, voters in Ward 8 cast ballots at the Bektesh Temple on Pembroke Road. Ward 9 voters cast ballots at the Citywide Community Center at 14 Canterbury Road. And Ward 10 voters cast ballots at the Broken Ground Elementary School on South Curtisville Road. For Concord TV and the New England Take, I'm Tony Shanella. Thanks again for being with us, and we'll see you next time.